Saugata, why is it that you think, sitting in Kolkata, that the idea of regional pride is at contrast with a larger idea of Hindutva? Kanchan says the forces of Hindutva found a lot of ideological moorings, a lot of the thinking, the writing happened in Bengal, and it's only after independence, during the leftist rule, that Kolkata moved away, and during this election and even otherwise, the BJP and the forces of Hindutva are trying to bring Bengal back where it earlier stood.
No. Sorry. I will start by reminding Rahul that the Hindutvalas have never done well in electoral terms in Bengal. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, who later became the founder of Jansangh, lost an election in 1946. Only time he won an election in his life was in 1952. Why is that? Why have Bengalis not accepted Hindutva? Because during the freedom movement and before that, a Bengali cultural ethos developed, starting from Ram Mohan and Vidyasagar, and the whole idea was secular. And the main person, of course, was Rabindranath Tagore, the biggest exponent of Indian wholeness. Then we had the anti-Bengal partition movement in 1905, and it was led by Rabindranath Tagore. If you really read the translations of Tagore's poems written during this period, it's called Swadesh. You'll see that he conceived of Bengal as a separate whole and in an idea which was totally secular. You know the national anthem of Bangladesh, Amar Sonar Bangla Ami Tomaye Bhalobashi, was composed by Tagore at this time. So in the growth of Bengali nationalism, Indian nationalism in Bengal, there is no place for Hindutva at all. The persons Mr. Gupta mentioned are forgotten and dead as dodo. What has survived is the cultural ethos propounded by Tagore, later by Kazi Nazrul Islam. And that's why Hindutva has never found roots in Bengal, nor will it ever find roots in Bengal. But Rahul, I'll say that wherever there is a regional cultural movement, Hindutva will not make any impact. For instance, take Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu had a great Congress movement, Rajagopalachari and Kamraj. But its actual movement was the anti-Hindi movement, which was again a subnational movement. That's why BJP or Hindutva has never found any ground.
So you've got two very powerful attacks. One, you've brought it down to elections and validation. There's a political idea. Saugata says, whenever this has been tested, in the recent assembly elections was the most glaring example, where the forces of Hindutva were up against the forces of regional pride. Regional pride rooted in language triumphed over a larger idea of Hindutva. Let's start by attacking that.
Rahul, I am not comfortable talking politics. He is a politician. He is welcome to reduce everything to the level of elections, who won elections and who lost elections. I don't look at it that way. I don't think Indian civilization is about politicians and their politics. So I won't rise to his bait. Just because one election happened a certain way in West Bengal, I can cite 10 other elections which happened another way, including in Assam, in Tripura, most recently in Manipur. So we can go on, but that's not really what we are here for today. He mentioned three things I will bring in. He talked about Tagore and his Swadesh period. That is 1905, when Bengal was divided. Now, Swadesh has both Tagore's adulation of Bengal, which an example is the national anthem of Bangladesh, Amar Sonar Bangla. It also has adulation of Desh, which is the nation. And one can again give various, O Amar Desher Mati. He is not talking O Amar Banglar Mati, he is talking about Desher Mati. And 1905 is also the time when the first concept of Bharat Mata, Mother India, emerges. And it is Abanindranath Tagore who draws the first pictorial representation of Bharat Mata. It comes from Bengal. It does not come from the Hindi heartland. Again, I mean, I could give you, he mentions Tamil Nadu. I have copies of a magazine printed in Tamil, what is now Tamil Nadu, called Vande Mataram. We have all listened to Subbalakshmi. One of her best renditions is Vande Mataram.
I love the intensity of this argument. You have a very good counter to the point that Saugata Da made about
So to say
language
that-
and region. Respond to Kanchan Da's argument about what happened in Manipur, Tripura, Assam. Your argument was rooted in language, that the forces of language would not allow for the imposition of the idea of Hindutva. He says, look at Assam, look at Manipur, look at Tripura. Hindutva existing under the rubric of a regional pride on the ground. It didn't happen in Bengal. One election is not a civilizational idea.
Rahul, I'm not talking about elections at all. All I'm talking about is that Mr. Gupta mistook a point that our cultural subnationalism is not antithetical to the broader national idea. After all, the nationalist thought in colonial times came from Bengal. Bankim, Rishi Bankim as we call him, first gave the idea of Vande Mataram. But it wasn't all Bengal cultural thought. It did not exclude the Muslims. Problem with Hindutva is that it excludes the Muslims. Bengal has 25% Muslims as in West Bengal today. And please remember what happened in East Pakistan. They thought that they could create a nation on the basis of Islam. Ultimately, it was seen that religion is not enough to sustain a nation. That's why they broke up, not only on the issue of language, but on the issue of a larger